Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. And in today's video, he's a man who's an expert at a live arena. He's called this the best tier list. And he's going to be breaking it down for us. It's none other than Cruisin'. First time on the channel. How's it going, man?
Hello, guys. Thanks for having me here, brother. It's a pleasure. And to discuss champions, to discuss the game is something I love to do. So It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Cruisin's channel, number one, where have you been? I think you've been like just really making a huge impact on the raid scene in the last few months, just exploding, doing really well. I know you're back onto the test server now. I don't know if you've hit 10k subs, but you're super close when I looked. So hopefully we'll get
really
there.
Close.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get there in the next few days. But yeah, if you guys are into live arena, there's no better channel to watch. Yeah, you've got a whole video on this. It was a movie length, man. I watched it all twice. It's movie length. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, if you guys like in-depth discussions, yeah, I think you're really good at explaining stuff, which I think is very good for a channel and for a creator. It's something that I think I admire a lot. So yeah, but
thank you.
I've made some additions to your tier list, as you can see right here. Some nice color things. So if you guys haven't seen Cruisin's video, I obviously recommend watching the full thing. But this was most of the end of it. In fact, there's you looking. I took a screenshot at a lovely moment. We've broken it down into different tiers. What I have done is I was thinking about, okay, how can, how does a free-to-play player, how does a mid-game player maybe who's not been playing for super long, what does the arena meta maybe look like for them? So as you guys can see, what I've done, I've marked in green so we can see Marius, Embers, Ultimate Death Knight. He's no longer available for free like these ones are eventually, but he was available for free at some point. I've marked in green basically champions like Arbiter, Mikage, etc. that were promo codes or free login champions, or they're permanently accessible from logins or mission rewards, that sort of stuff. For example, Supreme Galex, that's an interesting one. Yeah, that's have you ever used the Supreme Galak in Arena? I know he's a recent promo code, so for new players, he's got that passive breaks him free from crowd control, right?
Yeah, the real thing is he's a massive champion to use against fear mechanics.
Oh,
and when you're facing champions like Taras and Marichka, you can put him, and he will have a turn before any other champion, because he gets an extra turn from the fear that Taras procs on him.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very cool.
So you can build him full damage, 0 speed. And sometimes you're going to win the game because of that. He's like a hegemon when there's a Taras on the other side.
I like it. Yeah. That's good. I know that fear is something they're trying to push a lot more, it feels like, recently. So yeah, like that's coming into the meta way more. I had a fun video on like Fortis recently, who is in here as a previous guaranteed champion. I was like, with Fabian, with the Queen of Hearts and stuff like that now, there's a lot more champions with fear. I guess here's a quick question for building champions. I use this sometimes for for Hydra. Do you think this would ever have a place in Arena with more fear champions on any sort of champ? It's the one that can break you free of fear, the blessing. Or is this like, nah, that's not even barely useful for PvE?
If the mechanic of fear becomes something that you're gonna see frequently, yes. But I don't think it is the best one right now that we have for that. I prefer the I think we have more impactful blessings to use than it, because sometimes losing the turn it's okay. Is 50% of chance in the worst scenario, so you still get the 50% of chance of doing an action. Great. But there are many debuffs that you have 0% of chance, and even they take it. They don't take only your skills, but they take your speed, your turn from the skill to come back. They take with the ship even your will to play.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very curious to talk about on your channel, like, yeah, how did season 1 go for live arena? I know from reading comments on my videos, people have been finding it, it's controversial for sure. But like, what changes? I'm very curious what changes you'd even like to see in season 2. Will there be any changes? I mean, one question, and he is a champ with fear, although his fear is not as good as, let's say, Fabian's. But Embers, the anomaly, Have you got your Embers for? I see he's the second highest rated of the pretty much guaranteed champions people could have after Mario. So I think people know about. But Embers, he's new. Have you got him? Have you seen him being used much yet so far?
I missed one part.
Oh no, one.
So no, and I swap clans from this week on the day that we're going to change the Chimera, sorry. And
Right.
I had to do one key on my old clan, so I didn't got the chest. But I did one key on the new clan, so I will get him eventually. I think today.
Oh,
But
that
I
sucks,
didn't
man.
build him yet.
Yeah, I got mine actually. I was super lucky. I got mine not this week, but last week.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I was really lucky, but I've been like, because I think we potentially could have to fight IPR next. I'm glad you've left them. I'm glad you're in a different clan. But yeah, we might have to fight them next CVC. So I'm like, I've just hold on to all the fragment. I'm like, don't pull him, don't book him. I've got to wait. And we'll do it during a stream. So one thing that's really interesting about him, and in fact, I saw Drock did a video on this in general, which I didn't know about. You probably did, but let's say Stone Skin. So let's say our base, she gives herself Stone Skin in Form 2. The Stone Skin buff, we all sort of think, it's got this 50-50 to stop buff removal and stop being stolen.
Not the buff.
Not the buff.
Not the buff.
Exactly. Do you want to explain it for the viewers, Cruisen? I didn't know about this
Yeah.
at all. It blew my mind.
Yeah, it was a good discovery because most of the people think the removal chance of the Stone Skin buff, it was a thing from the buff itself, but it's not a thing from the buff itself. It's a passive of the set, not a passive of the buff. It's not a buff effect itself, it's a set effect. So if you're not wearing the Stone Skin set, it's easy to remove the Stone Skin buff as easy as any other buff that you have on your champion. But if you have the set itself, the 50% is applied, but not for Embers.
Exactly. I mean, that's how we got talking about it. But I thought, that was great. Like, for example, just on that, I've got Eilil, who I use a good bit. I was happy that you rate him high in the tier list. I was even using him a bit before that, just because I didn't have the better anti-Stone Skin champs. But he's been great. But I didn't even notice this because he gives himself Stone Skin. But I've got him with Lightning Cage, so half the time it wouldn't get removed anyway. So I never noticed.
It's the best option for him.
Yeah,
it's the best option for him.
Yeah, exactly. I never noticed that. Oh, the Stone Skin buffs that champs can give themselves can actually be removed 100% of the time. But yeah, Embers, as you mentioned, I'm sure this has to have an impact on the Season 2 meta for Live Arena when players will actually have this champion built. But this was, I think they didn't intend for this to happen at the start. Like, they kind of told us, oh no, it works. Like, the Stone Skin still is a 50-50, like a few months ago. And then I think a couple of weeks ago, they're like, oh yeah, no, he just takes off Stone Skin. And I think he doesn't need, am I correct? He doesn't need accuracy to do it. Is that right? And there's no 50, I know there's no 50-50 for sure. He just turns.
There's no 50-50, but I think it requires accuracy. And you're gonna need accuracy on his kit anyway.
Yeah.
So he's a champion that accuracy is not to go into something that you're gonna miss. Not only because you want to land the debuffs or the buff removals or anything. More specifically, the buff replacement. That's what makes his difference. It's because he's not removing. The first word of the skill is removes.
Yeah,
but for Plarium, it does not work as a removal. It works as a replacement. And just because of that, the Stone Skin passive of 50-50 doesn't apply to that skill.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it also it won't trigger polymorph as well, right? Because it's not removing a buff. I think that's also...
it's a replacement, yeah. Crazy. But what a crazy champion, bro. There is only one way of keeping your Stone Skin if you're facing him. The replacement is something that it's unavoidable for the Stone Skin itself. But there is a mechanic that can avoid it. That is the blessing, Lightning Cage. Yeah. And this blessing is the new polymorph, you know?
Yeah, right.
Everybody in the past had polymorph in every champion. The polymorph, it was like nukers to debuffers to speed boosters, everyone had polymorph. Now it's the Lightning Cage, it's the Lightning Cage era. Everybody from nukers to speed boosters to buff removal, everybody's going to have Lightning Cage, because you're gonna maybe keep your buffs, and there's a lot of mechanics of removing, replacing, taking turns away, and that is the way of dealing with that right now. So this is the future, Lightning Cage for the future. And the good part, Lightning Cage is extremely impactful at 1 star.
Yes.
A red. You don't need the 6 star like the polymorph. So just 1 star gives you a high chance of keeping the buff, which is really, really impactful. You don't need the maximum stars to make it a viable blessing.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, it's a game changer. That's definitely something people are going to be swapping to. For Embers, so we're definitely building Embers, though. We're definitely building Embers. What builds for players that are going to be getting Embers? What is a good starter build like to look at for week 1? You get your new Embers.
If you're early to mid game, I think you cannot avoid to be just focused on speed and accuracy to use his first form.
Yeah.
If you're end game and maybe very, very end game, you can try to make him a hybrid form. That's probably the best build for him, but the hardest to build.
Yeah.
Because he needs a lot of stats. He needs speed, critical, hate, critical damage, accuracy, HP, a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure. I know I've got like a speed Lazarius, but because he's not 6-star, and like how do I get this? Like, how do I get a 6-star blessing? You know, I just have to get lucky with soul stones eventually. But like it's definitely it's a mark against him because that's 20 speed that's gone. I've got a 5-star, so I've got the other stats, but you notice the speed. And if I didn't have the 5-star or the 4-star, we're gonna be starting with 0 stars for Embers. Yeah, it's tough to do that build. So that's interesting. Yeah, focusing more on the support form.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to use him.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to do that, you can build him as a Nuka also. He's a really good Nuka. Yeah. Really insane damage, really good mechanic. Very impactful because the necrosis and the survivability inbuilt on his kit, the 2 sources of damage, HP and accuracy. So his damage capability is very high. And it to be even higher if you got blessings for him because of the amount of multiplications you have on the skills. Having HP and accuracy as sources of damage, it's a Carnage like champion.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna have 2 ways of make him do damage. HP is the primary one. HP is more important than accuracy, but both are impactful.
Yeah, agreed. Carnage, I see. Carnage is in the S tier. I think that this is a champion. I fully agree as well. It's definitely a champion I think a lot of players really underestimate. Like more casual players, I think, that are kind of going, do I even want to do Cintranos to get Carnage? Is he even good? The answer is clearly, yeah, but he's S tier. The dude is a beast. Like, why should players be excited about actually finally unlocking Carnage? What's he doing that's so good?
Bro, he's a very versatile champion. Versatile champion. Crazy base stats, like the highest base attack in the game on the 2nd form.
Yeah,
and really good base stats. So that by itself, it's really good. And he's a mythical that you can play both forms, 1st form and 2nd form.
Yeah.
So if you don't have many options to use against skill locker champions like Warlord, Krixia, Alice, Fabian, any other, Yumeko, we have many right now. He's a viable champion to use as a 2nd form Nuka. But what is best on him is the 1st form. The ability of taking your enemy's passives and active skills. And all the mechanics around turn meter, life swap is very impactful. And there are many builds that you can play him even without a very damage dealing focus set that still are good enough to make him a valuable champion. Even if you can't do an amazing amount of damage without that set, you can still kill the champion and make the role of a Nuka to be there, present. He's going to be a dangerous champion. On my account, that I don't have all the options in the game, like in the other accounts I have, he's one of my most picked ones.
Yeah, same. I pick him. I pick him a ton. He's great. I was thinking, when I was looking at your tier list, it would be so much easier to deal with Nice if Carnage wasn't the wrong affinity for the nice, you know? If you could just
Bro,
block those passives, seal him, swap his HP, you'd be like, oh, this is so much easier, but that
I
affinity.
think half of the champions that are S tier,
Yeah.
if they weren't a green affinity, they would be higher.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow, wow. Yeah, so Carnage, Mezamel as well.
The cat,
Crixia, yeah. The cats, yes, yes, yes. Very true. That's great. So yeah, tell me a bit about that then. That's really interesting. So why is Green Affinity, why is it like, is it just nice, or what else is going on?
no, if you see the top 5 that I put there, there
Yeah.
are one thing between
Magic.
these 5 champions. They are
Mm,
void or blue affinity. So the champions that you're gonna fear the most, the champions capable of doing a most impact thing in the match, are from that affinity blue.
mm,
And by doing that, they are really annoying. If you have an Eyes on the other side, if you have a Lazarus, if you have a Comidos, if you have a Siegfried, they are. If you have an Armand,
mm-hmm.
if you have a Rotos, if you have a Gizmak, you need to pay attention on these champions because one move from them can end the match. So maybe not being able to avoid or dealing with them when you need to deal with them because of the affinity, it's very troublesome. If you have one chance to kill the Nice and you fail that chance because of the affinity, you're going to proc his passive. You're going to give him a turn. He's going to transform. He's going to kill you. He's going to revive. So all your battle that you're going to win, you're going to lose just because of the affinity. And that's the same for the Armands. That's the same for the Rotos. That's the same for the Siegfried. That's the same for the Lazaris. That's the same for the Comidus. So there are champions right now that are so powerful that they make one move, they can win the match. And if you have the ability to stop that and you fail because of the affinity, that's is terrible. And that's what's happening between the green affinity and the blue affinity. If the meta changes and we have red affinity on the top, green affinity will become good and this champion will gradually be more valuable.
Yeah, 100%. Makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it is so interesting how specific, like, just you get enough champions of a certain affinity to be strong, and how that really shifts sort of everything around. It's a really interesting part of the game balance. And I think I remember you. I think you were mentioning this before as well, that void affinity really, really good for being a nuker, because then you can always hit everyone. But let's say part of what makes Galathir so strong as well is, well, if all of these magic nukers are there in the game and magic is the best one, then being a force affinity champion is actually defensively a really, really big benefit. That's something that players can look at. Interesting. I want to touch on defense a bit as well, because I don't know how you find it. Obviously, you play on Doc Moreau. It's one of the top accounts in the game. Like, when you're playing on your own account, which is still crazy, but you're going to be playing against players that have better gear and better champs, etc. How do you look at trying to build speed and going first, and how do you look at trying to go second? And especially, I'm thinking about newer players, earlier game players. Can they build to go second? Should they? What sort of champs might they be looking at?
They should.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if you join a certain level of arena, you have to, unless you're crazy, whalish, or you have a crazy account, you're going to assume that the people that you're facing is faster than you. At least what I do. Mm-hmm. If I'm not playing a crazy account, I instantly assume the other guy's faster than me. It doesn't matter if he's level 13 with 0 stars on their champions. I'm like, oh, this guy has Pentarose and I only got triple. Right. So he's faster than me. And I play for 6 years, but I assume that when I face anyone that I know for fact is really fast. So there are champions that are guys that I know, in fact, they are faster. Mm-hmm. But the other ones, I guess they are faster, and I treat them like they are faster.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I never bet on speed on my account. I know that I build the champions knowing that I have the chance of winning the speed race, mm-hmm. but not counting as I'm going to win the speed race. Because many players play based on, I'm going to win the speed race and I'm going to bomb them. I'm going to win the speed race and remove them. I'm going to win the speed race and lock them. I never count. So my champions are built in a way. If I win the speed race, I have actions to do. But if I lose the race, I also have actions to do. That's harder to do, but I think it's safer at the same time. You're gonna lose a little bit of quality, but you're gonna win a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
Sometimes that's better.
Yeah, so I'm one of those people that most times I just go all in on speed, and there's definitely fights where 1 second in, lost the game. All right, well, next one. So like it's risky. But what sort of champions, like especially of the ones in here, would you be looking for and say, okay, if you have one of these champions, that's really unlocking a go second strategy. We don't necessarily have to pick
the kings of the go second teams for the early to mid to end game. It doesn't matter the moment of the game you are. It's UDK and Wukong. This combo works. It doesn't matter who you're facing, against you're facing, which champion is on the other side. For sure, the stronger the enemy, the more they can mitigate that. Yeah. But if you're going to lose anyway, this duo can give you a chance. And many times I lost to guys that I had 20 turns in front of them with Dog's account, and the Wukong came back in the only moment that they can win, and they did. And usually people laugh about it, but it's how strong the combo between these champions is. You can face a guy that is 20, 30, 40 times stronger than you, faster than you, and you still manage to win due to timing. And we cannot deny Wukong and UDK are a couple.
Oh yeah, they're so good together. It's
crazy. A battle couple.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that combo, and I hate that combo. Right, I hate playing against it, but it is so strong. Because like I'm sure a lot of people are like me. Like, you know, I'm sure you could count the turns and be like, yes, Wukong's definitely coming back. But you know, I'm just sort of more. Yeah, I've got the vibe for it, and you know, I'll be right most of the time. But sometimes, like, oh, I thought I was gonna get a turn on this champion. Wukong has just appeared when I didn't quite expect it. 'Cause like a mythicals or whatever, merciless procced an extra turn or something. You, I'm in trouble now. That's cool. Are there any other like go second strategies people could look at? That
there is a champion that is very impactful at go check on that many people could have right now. That is the Queen of Hearts.
Oh yes,
we had a lot of events around her, and her mechanic, it's a go second champion by conception. When you read her kit, you know that you're not going to play her to be the fastest champion or that champion that's going to play first, but you're going to play second and make your team play first, then after, or make an action after that. At least you're gonna try. And her kit is absolutely amazing because she's a threat. She's a threat to very fast champions, and most of the meta champions buff a lot to make the speed boosting skills. So half of them are countered by her. If you're facing her and you're faster, you know that you're going to bet on RNG if you're facing her, because she can have a turn in between and remove your buffs, or maybe making an attack, or even put fear on your champions, and the RNG can do the other things.
Yep. I've had many fights where I've got Sifi, I think, in 6-piece protection, and I'm like, I have to ban whatever this other, like, most of the time I want to ban Queen of Hearts because she's so good, but sometimes I'm like, just got, hopefully protection set will protect the buffs, just roll the dice. And it's scary. It's not a position you want to be in. Yeah, she's incredibly strong.
Yeah, there are other two champions that are crazy go second champions, but they are not as free as three champions. Let's say Nice is the top one. I think Nice is a champion that even if you go first or you go second, you don't care. He's able to do his move, and he's very threatening. The other one I think is very impactful, in my opinion, one of the strongest champions in the game. That is Vulcanus. But he's very blessing. The blessing is mandatory on him because his damage is not to be based on the gear you have on him particularly. Is going to be most of the time coming from the blessing damage. That is the incinerate. And the higher you have the blessing, the more damage you're going to be able to do. And the possibilities this champion adds to your team without making a single action.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You want your opponent to have 32 turns in front of you, and you bring them down without doing nothing. That's how strong this champion is. And the other one, in my opinion, the funniest one is Arnon.
Oh, this guy, yeah, he's insane, right?
Arnon is a champion that is the first champion that you hope to die. Because when you're going to die, it's when he's most threatening.
Yeah.
This passive and this damage is absolutely amazing. There are players that doesn't know how to deal with him.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to deal with him. If you make the wrong move in the wrong moment, you might have the perfect team. You're going to lose.
Yep.
By your own action. So that's how strong he is. I think he's amazing, but he's a lot harder of conquering. And these are the 3 most wanted champions on my account besides Shuzan.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Well, if I could give you a challenge here for the end, maybe we'll exclude the blue ones, the ones that are the harder ones to get. These were like, you had to win a champ training tournament or, buy He-Man or Deck of Fates, that sort of stuff. If you could only pick green and yellow champions, what would be like a team of 5? If you're like, okay, let's say you're even like in silver, but you've got some of these champs. You're like, hey, I can pick the same 5 champs every single live arena draft. What
the first one. The first one would be Marius. He's on the first spot hit there.
For a reason, yeah.
And it's not for no reason, but he's perfect.
Yes.
He's one of the few champions that I would say the kit is perfect.
Yeah.
He's able to dealing with so many situations. If you're winning, if you're losing the battle, he's dangerous the same. And only the A1 proccing on this champion is a force to be recognized. A proc of a way one might destroy your entire battle.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
and by more than one factor, it can be the buff, the debuff, the enfeeble, and it can be the damage.
Yep.
So many things on this champion are on the perfect level. That's the first pick. It will be probably him.
Yep.
Followed by Armand's. The lower the level of arena you're doing, the most impactful Armands still are. If you climb enough, if you're facing very strong opponents, they will have a lot of relics, the wand of submission, they will have pinpoint, they will have high resistance, so Armand's impact will drop a lot. And in fact, on the top tier level, he dropped a lot.
Yeah.
But the lower you are on the arena, the most impactful he is. Even more than Mario sometimes, because he is capable of denying almost everything but another Marius.
Yeah, pretty much.
Marius is also a counter to him at some level.
Yes, yeah.
So this is a champion that if you have the possibility, you should pick. You should pick on my account, even on the top level.
Yeah.
I still pick him first because I think I don't have much ways of dealing him than I have with another champions in case I have to face him.
Yeah.
And so we have Anuka, we have Crown Control.
Yeah.
I would say it's good to have some other Nuka. I would pick Wukong.
Oh, I thought you might go for Rotos. You're going for Wukong.
Yeah.
I know you love the Rotos.
Yeah, one of the two. One of the two. Because they are really impactful.
Yes.
Really impactful. I wouldn't pick Fabian and Armands had the same team because usually I try to put a reviver or something that give me some bit of safety. So I would try to put a reviver on the team also. And you can go with Armands, Marius, a Wukong or a Rotos, another Nuka. You can go with Fabian if you want, but I would try to seek for a reviver.
Okay.
And a reviver doesn't need to be a crazy one. It can be a speed booster reviver like Arbiter. It can be a very fast champion like Kaja if you have her. You can also try to go full speed and you can have your fastest gear on someone like Lamasu that people get from Siege. And she's able to speed boost in you and sometimes make you have the first movement wins the match. I think it's good to have a reviver on each team that you're making, unless you have a lot of faith on your stats.
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't have. On mine, I don't have. So I always try to have a reviver.
Nice. Which one are you gonna pick then? If you could, if you're stuck between these ones, we're down the A tier for a reviver. The best ones we don't have access to.
I would take a look at my gear.
Okay.
The champion pick between these champions is going to be based on my gear. If, for example, my fastest banner is on the high elves, and I have the possibility of doing a crazy fast arbiter compared to my other champion, I would pick arbiter. If my fastest banner, or I have a good supersonic set for Lamasu or something like that, I would pick Lamasu. If I have a very fast gear for Kaja, I would pick Kaja. The difference between they are, yes, they can do different actions, different kind of buffs, but you're gonna adjust your team to the gear you have. It's not only the champions you have, it's the gear that you have for that champions.
Yeah.
So you can build an extremely fast Lamasu, but you also can do a not extremely fast Lamasu, but with really good supersonic, and you can cut the enemy and still speed boosting. So you don't make her crazy fast, but you make her really fast with the good set, and she will do the same action, but with a different strategy. So sometimes the gear you have, it's what's going to decide which champion you're going to pick for your primary options.
I agree completely. I mean, to give an example, I think it was before the season, but I was using Arbiter for a bit, and then I said, hang on a second, I've got a much better blessing on Aestrid. I've finished the faction Guardians, but I haven't for her, and I've got a better banner as well. And I went and I said, hang on, I just want this champ to go first to increase attack. And Aestrid is like 15 speed faster than Arbiter at this point, or more than that even. I said, what am I doing?
Yeah.
So I switched to Aestrid, and it ended up being much better. I lost, obviously, the revive, but it worked better for those particular teams. So yeah.
Yeah, if the goal is to have the fastest champion you can have as a speed booster, Elstrid is a good replacement for Arbiter most of the time. Higher base speed, sometimes you have better gear.
Yeah.
So it can make it easier to reach that certain kind of speed that you want. Many account takeovers that I do, I switch the Arbiter gear, the fastest gear from the Arbiter to Elstrid due to that.
Interesting.
It's a really impactful champion for most of the accounts that are not totally end the game or trying to figure out the strategy they're going to use on the end game. Or trying to reach it.
Makes sense.
I think it's a really impactful champion, and you can use her in multiple areas, not only on PvP.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we've got Marius, let's say Wukong, we've got Armans, of course. Let's say Arbiter, maybe, and then did you add? What was the final pick? Sorry.
If you have two nukers, to support speed boosters, you can add the third pick another nuker, depending on the situation, or you can add a crown control, or you can add both if you have this kind of niche champion that can do both, like Odin.
Oh yeah, like
Odin. Yeah. Like Embers right now is the same thing. He can do both.
That could be the fifth pick. Yeah.
Yeah, Embers is now a champion that's going to do that as both roles, a support and at the same time a nuker. You have the doubt what he's going to play when you're facing him, and he can even be both, depending on the case.
Exactly.
So I think he's a really versatile pick that can be really impactful.
All right.
I think that's going to be a good addition for most accounts, Embers.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm excited to build him. I'm a bit worried about fighting him, but I'm excited to have him for sure. But guys, listen, there we go. Cruzen, thank you so much for jumping on and talking us through this and breaking your tier list down in even more detail. Again, guys, if you want to see the full tier list and explanations for what every champion, every single one is doing well and why they are where they are in terms of the placement right now in the meta, go check out Cruzen's video. I'll link it down below. And we are also going to be jumping over to Cruzen's channel to record a collab over there and chatting about Season 1 and the future of Season 2, what we hope what we're scared might happen, what we hope might happen. Who knows what we'll talk about. But yeah, Cruzen, do you have anything that you want to say before we hop on over to your channel?
Yes, I have only one thing to say. A message to all of you guys. It's all about Arena.
I love it. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.